Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Journalism and New Media Studies, SOJNMS, Certificate Programs, Certificate in Community Radio, CCR, English, Course 1, CCR BJM 001 Introduction to Community Radio, Block-3 Content Development, Unit 9 Need Assessment, 9.0 Introduction. We are all familiar with needs and we all need many things, different things at different times from different people. Pause a while and think about what you need. Your list might have things like a bicycle, some career counseling, a mobile phone, medical advice on a problem that is troubling you, a change in job, a set of new clothes for a celebration in the family, and so on. Pause a while. Think again and write down your needs and then read the list carefully. You will find some of the items on the list are what you want and some are what you need. What is the difference? In the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the word want is defined as having a strong desire for something while the word need is defined as lack of the means of subsistence. It is, of course, not always very easy to separate a want from a need. And it can be contextual. For instance, an overweight person might want to lose weight in order to look better, but might in fact need to lose weight in order to be healthier and fitter. Simply put, a need is a gap between what is and what should be. In the context of community development, a need may be defined as a gap between real and ideal, that is, both acknowledged by community values and potentially amenable to change. Different disciplines have their classification of needs. For example, in education, learning needs are identified as normative needs, which is a discrepancy between an individual or group's performance against a norm, e.g., a normative need exists if a student scores below the passing mark of an examination. Felt needs, where a need is identified in order to improve performance, e.g., a student may need extra or remedial coaching beyond classroom instruction. Expressed need, where the felt need is expressed as an action. If several students enroll for additional coaching, there may be a need to increase tutors in the remedial class, and so on. In most community radio stations, the spectrum of needed information ranges from factual information on assistance to public health, hygiene and education is equal to human rights and protection to issues about surroundings and, finally, to safety, security and the overall improvement in lifestyle of the people. A careful, thorough needs assessment is the roadmap for change and provides the basis for a strategic plan to address specific problems. 9.1 Objectives. This unit will explain to you the following times why it is important to understand and assess community needs for a community radio initiative, times different ways of FMing out the community and individual needs, times how to analyze the need assessment data for a radio initiative, times resource mapping for the community to create an ethnographic database with the needs assessment information thus collected, analyzed and processed. You will be able to understand the communities living within the transmission area of your radio station. Approach the community members for participating in the station's activities with greater confidence, and you will be able to project the community needs on radio more effectively. 9.2 Weighted Need Assessment. Needs assessment can be termed as a systematic process by which we identify and describe the needs of an individual or a given group. When a community radio is set up, it is an educational institution, agricultural university or Krishi Vigyan Kendra or a civil society organization that acquires the license to set up the one radio station. Communities living in the range of a 5-15 km in radius around the station are the focus of the station. It is their needs and expectations that form the thrust of the needs assessment activity. Needs assessment is a valuable tool in program planning. It is a way of understanding opinions, issues, interests, and assets in a given community. Need assessment has to be a continuous process. We assess needs to identify issues of salience in the community at a given time. As times change, so do the communities. We must bear in mind that their needs, too, are not static and keep changing over time. For instance, a slum area in an urban setting needs a school close enough for the children to travel on foot to attend the classes. Once the education department establishes the school in the area and the need has been addressed, the community feels the need for good teachers and some assistance for coaching the children to perform better. The needs, as you can see, have changed. Also, different groups have different needs, and sometimes there may even be a conflict of interest among these groups. For instance, in a rural setup, construction of a factory can bring about the much-needed employment opportunities and economic benefit to a section of the community who might strongly favor it. But it might be adversely affecting a section of the community who may have been dislocated from their homes and lands. It might also bring with it a threat to the environment and ecological systems of the area. A community radio has to provide a forum where all these different interest groups can voice their views and concerns and collectively negotiate and come to an amicable solution by addressing all the conflicting or diverse needs of groups, individuals, and communities. 9.2.1 Community individual needs. Not everything featured on the community radio, of course, would be centered round problems of this nature. As you have been learning in the course, community radio also provides an opportunity to individuals as well as collectively to community members to air their views or express their needs. For instance, within the listening community there can be a linguistic group or a cultural group with their distinctive arts, music, crafts, special fairs and festivals, etc. The community radio provides a unique opportunity for the need to preserve these very locally specific traditions that no other medium affords. We have already seen in earlier units in Block 1 that a community in the context of a community radio is not a homogeneous whole. There are in fact several interest and pressure groups within. In order to ensure that all the small groups within the larger community get their voice on the radio, an important first step would be list or enumerate different groups. Sometimes, community radio stations have to make decisions on how to apportion time to various groups and when to give them slots. This often depends upon an assessment and prioritization of the needs of the communities and even individuals. Sometimes, in order to find solutions to issues, the station itself needs to understand the various communities and assets available in the community that could lead towards a solution. This includes understanding the needs of all the different groups and entities like times different social groups, linguistic, occupational, caste groups, etc. Times cultural associations like sports, cultural, youth associations, times elected and civic bodies like Gram Panchayat, municipal bodies, times social institutions, schools, hospitals, charitable institutions. In the context of community radio, we are also dealing with several marginalized sections of the society. While a community radio by itself cannot fulfill the needs of people, it provides a space for people to come together to articulate some of their needs and aspirations. It provides a platform to motivate and mobilize communities towards articulation and eventual fulfillment of some of their unmet needs. 9.2.2 Why do we assess needs? Identifying your community's needs in an organized way is an important activity in planning for a community radio. Times, your community needs assessment will provide comprehensive and unbiased information about the needs in the whole community. It will help you to identify your community priorities, through need assessment exercises. Communities also learn the importance of involving their members in the planning of programs and the need for good communication throughout all phases of the production process. Community involvement in need assessment can create and maintain the support of key community members, which always helps to popularize a radio program. Times. Sometimes people believe that they understand the nature, extent, and causes of a persistent problem and can substitute the needs assessment with their knowledge. In fact, even the Most knowledgeable individuals are sometimes surprised by the results of a thorough needs assessment study. Those surprises are among the many reasons why a needs assessment survey is vital before a community can develop effective, workable solutions to its problem. A comprehensive needs assessment enables a community or the program planner in the radio station to 1. Effectively target the real needs, utilize resources better, because solutions are targeted at the real causes of the problem. Since resources for most communities are scarce, this targeting can help to achieve results without wasting precious funding or time, too. Need assessment is also an opportunity to take a fresh look at the problem and determine whether the present set of programs should be changed and new ones begin, or whether the needs highlighted in the program still persist and whether the programs are effective, working well, and should be continued. 3. The needs assessment exercise gives people an opportunity to express their own views, relate their experiences, and help collect information from other members of the community. Self-actua el satlon, personal growth and fulfillment, esteem needs. Achievement, status, responsibility, reputation, belongingness and love needs, family, affection, relationships, work group, etc. Safety needs, protection, security, order, law, limits, stability, etc. Biological and physiological needs, basic life needs: air, food, drink, shelter, warmth, sex, sleep, etc. 9.2.3 Human behavior as an index of need. In understanding human behavior, a very useful reference of needs is provided by Abraham Maslow, who set up a hierarchic theory of needs. According to his theory, there are 5 levels of basic needs. These basic need levels have been so designed that the person does not feel the second level need until the demands of the first have been satisfied. The third level need becomes important only after the second has been satisfied, and so on. The Maslow's basic needs are depicted in the diagram below. These are, of course, broad guideline for needs, and beyond these needs, higher levels of needs exist. Those include needs for understanding, aesthetic appreciation, and purely spiritual needs, etc. In almost all societies, contexts and conditions prevail that prevent the fulfillment of individual as well as community needs of the people. Times, for participatory community development to occur, it is also necessary to ensure local voices are regularly heard on the radio. To attract a greater local audience, the need for programs to be relevant to community needs. Individual need assessment has to be kept in focus because radio works through the voice of individuals. Need assessment data is collected through interview with individuals, groups and key community informants, household surveys, training orientation sessions with community members, and use of secondary data sources. In this case, we assess the community needs as well as the communication needs of the people. In the sections that follow, we will see how to go about it and how to use the information we gather on the needs of the community. 9.3 How to assess needs. There is no single all-purpose or best way to do a needs assessment. Therefore, a good starting point for deciding how to go about doing a need assessment is to begin by asking ourselves a few key questions like times what do we want to accomplish from the needs assessment, times whose needs are to be assessed, point, times what questions do we need to be answered, what questions to ask, times what resources are available for needs assessment, time, money, skills, times how do we plan to use the data. These questions have a bearing on the methods we choose. For example, if the needs assessment has to profile the entire community, we would need to talk to large number of people. If we are assessing the needs of children, asking direct questions may not yield the necessary answers. If we are trying to gather information on people's sexual behavior, a group interview will not be a good idea as people may not like to talk about their personal habits in the presence of others. If we are trying to influence policy, we may know the views of opinion leaders and some key persons in the community, and so on. Again, if we need quick answers and do not have many resources at our disposal, we may not be able to undertake a door-to-door survey, as this would need a battery of field investigators, supervisors, etc. Usually, we combine a few methods in order to get a holistic perspective of the issue. In the above examples, we have actually listed several methods, which we shall discuss now in greater detail and understand the merits and limitations of each approach. A case study: Bali experienced an unprecedented economic crisis following the 12th October 2002 terrorist bomb attack in the tourist center of Kota, and again in October 2005 following attacks around Denpasar B-3 suicide bombers. Tulikup, population of 7,132 people in June 2004, a small, relatively unknown village in eastern Bali, was one of the islands to experience the negative social and economic effects of these disasters. Located in Tulikup village is Heartline Bali FM, a community radio station. Heartline invited health communication resources to conduct a rapid participatory assessment of Tulikup's health and social needs in order to develop a communication strategy for health and social development. The survey was in two phases. Phase I included communicating with stakeholders, planning, collecting and analyzing information pertaining to community needs and assets. Phase 11 involved further discussions with community participants to verify, clarify and share opinions about emerging issues and to propose community development strategies. Methods of rapid appraisal were used by recording interviews with key informants, informal individual and group discussions, field observations, and the collation of existing secondary data. Semi-structured questionnaires guided interviews with key informants on times media references, times perceived community problems or needs, times feedback on health, education, youth and social services, and times identification of existing community assets or social capital. Vulnerable and poorer families were especially sought out. Separate discussion sessions were held with this subgroup within the privacy of their compound, providing not only an opportunity to understand their needs more closely and avail also a chance to observe and compare the living situation of disadvantaged families within Tulikup. All the data was processed and the following community individual needs were found. The primary source of employment for the people in the area was brick making. This industry has shifted to another part of the country, leaving the people of Tulikup jobless. They have no other known skills for getting employment. Point. Tulikup had only one state-run health center. Blasts had killed 2 of the staff members of the center. New persons from mainland Indonesia were reluctant to go to Tulikup and serve. As a result, there is a fall in the quality of health services and consequently, a general fall in the health standards. Point. Information from community members suggested that at least 50% of children in Tulikup assisted their parents in their workplaces, usually after school, leading to lower academic performances. The community was looking at the radio station to offer solution to their problems as they were unable to make their needs heard. 9.3.1 Survey approach. This method allows one to gather information from a cross-section of the community through a representative sample. Usually surveys require a questionnaire in which the issues are defined in clear and specific language and respondents are encouraged to give their individual answers. Times, survey data can be gathered by questionnaires that respondents fill themselves, self-administered, or a team of field investigators reach the homes, workplaces in the survey zone, ask the questions, and notes down the responses. Surveys can also be conducted on telephone, email, or regular mail. In the context of community radio, which deals with a specific well-defined small geographic area and includes people from resource-poor settings with lower levels of literacy, lower access to email, telephone, etc., the door-to-door survey approach is usually the best way to collect information. Questions on a survey are predetermined and B-L-defined. They can be close-ended, i.e., respondents are given a number of options to choose from, or open-ended, i.e., respondents can give their own opinion. Open-ended questions yield rich information but need more skill and time to decode. Advantages of the survey approach: 1. Provides data that is valid and reliable and can help in making projections about the community. 2. Represents the views, attitudes of a cross-section of the community. 3. Provides a quantitative estimate, i.e., allows us to understand how widespread a problem or an attitude is. And 4. Can provide information both about opinion and behavior. Disadvantages: 1. Requires greater technical skills at all levels: planning, execution, and analysis. 2. Preparing the survey instrument, i.e., the questionnaire, is a highly skilled job. Multiple option questions must anticipate all responses. Open-ended questions are difficult to analyze and aggregate. 3. Needs resources like skill, time, staff, money, and 4. Sometimes provides face value data, i.e., people give desirable answers to please the interviewer, rather than reveal their true opinions or behavior. While profiling the community, try to capture the general attitudes, beliefs, problems prevalent in a community. A survey is an excellent method and can provide a very valuable approach for understanding the socio-economic and demographic needs of the community. 9.3.2 Focus Group Interviews. A focus group interview, FGD, is a group process carried out with about 9 to 12 people who are selected by the researcher to obtain detailed information about a clearly defined topic. A series of questions are raised by the moderator conducting the discussion in the group. Usually focus groups are conducted among homogeneous group of people, depending on the context. For examples, in some cultures, where women do not speak publicly in front of men, a focus group cannot combine men and women. Likewise, in a caste hierarchical context, combining people from upper and lower castes may lead to unequal participation. However, even while choosing a fairly homogeneous group, it is important to ensure that participants are familiar with each other and have no inhibition about expressing opinions or needs in the presence of the group members. Typically, a FGD discussion lasts about 1 to 1.5 hours, but it is advisable not to prolong it beyond 2 hours. A group facilitator or moderator is essential to keep the discussion focused on the chosen needs and leading discussion in a manner where every participant is able to articulate his or her views. Advantages of using focus group discussion to assess community needs: 1. Relatively easy to put together, and community opinion makers can be brought under one umbrella for collecting quick and fast-track information. 2. Issues that need in-depth responses can be probed better than survey. 3. Greater clarity of responses as a discussion demands articulation of ideas or information. And 4. Information can be processed faster. Disadvantages: 1. The moderator has to be highly skilled to keep the group on focus. 2. Sometimes individuals who differ from the majority hesitate to voice their opinion, allowing an artificial or forced consensus. Individuals do not voice independent opinions. 3. Since the participants are selected, the procedure for selection of the representatives is vital, otherwise the discussion will not reflect the needs or views of the general population. And 4. All participants may not participate equally. The shy and quiet ones can get completely overshadowed and their views remain unrepresented. Focus groups are particularly useful to draw out aspects of an issue unknown to the researcher. 9.3.3 Developing Community Forum. Sometime the way to understanding of community needs is public meetings. A radio station can actively support or set up public forums like radio clubs, special segment groups within the community that will regularly meet and provide information, feedback and community opinions, discuss the needs, problems or issues facing them. All members are encouraged to attend the forum and express and their opinion. Advantages 1. Relatively easy to organize and inexpensive 2. As the forum is not a one-time activity but a regular process of interaction, diverse members can share ideas and views. 3. Helps to build greater awareness for an issue because of its wide and open house participation. And 4. Gives a quick feel of how people are divided or united along specific issues. Disadvantages 1. Many people do not take such forums seriously. Participation may not be as representative as it would appear. 2. Sometimes a forum can generate more conflict and tension between groups and the issues associated with community needs gets blurred. 3. Such public meetings sometimes creates expectations for solution of the needs expressed beyond the scope of the radio station. And 4. Large groups are difficult to manage. 9.3.4 Individual interviews consultations. In this approach, key persons in the community like community leaders, decision makers, or those who are knowledgeable about the community are contacted to help identify needs and concerns of the community. The information solicited from them is taken as a reflection of the opinions or needs of the community. It must be mentioned here that key informants are usually the well-to-do and socially advantaged people, but they may not necessarily be well informed about the needs of the community. However, approaching them for information is sometimes useful in implementation of solutions. Let me explain this approach with a local example. The Commonwealth of Learning was invited to implement a Department of Science and Technology project on health and nutrition among communities through community radio programs. As the first step, Commonwealth of Learning decided to assess the health and nutrition needs in each of the communities. Key informers like doctors, nutritionists, and midwives working with the community were approached and they provided valuable information on food habits, prevalent nutritional deficiencies, and health issues, which became the starting point to develop a suitable survey questionnaire to understand and assess the health and nutrition needs within the community. These experts also provided suggestions and solutions which were incorporated in program content of the community radio station once the specially designed broadcasts started. Advantages 1. Easy to identify and reach community leaders and experts. 2. Interview questions are easy to prepare, ask, record and analyze. And 3. Support from key informants is valuable in implementing solutions. Disadvantages 1. Information likely to be biased as the key informant's profile in terms of age, occupation, education, income etc. would vary considerably with the community one seeks to reach. On social issues, the bias may be more pronounced. And 2. If the numbers of key informants interviewed are small, the bias may be even more pronounced. As opposed to key informants, interview as a technique can be used to gather information from representative community members. An interview is a structured conversation that the interviewer researcher has with the respondent and records the information for detailed analysis. Being in a one-to-one situation, if the interviewer inspires confidence, the respondents give honest and frank responses if assured of confidentiality. However, structuring the interview questions has to be done with a great deal of caution so as not to make the respondent defensive, upset or embarrassed. Advantages 1. It builds rapport with the respondent and helps gather in-depth information not possible in a survey mode. And 2. It allows for clarification and discussion. Disadvantages 1. Time-consuming. 2. Information hard to summarize and analyze. And 3. Has no quantitative value. Which particular combination of approach is best suited to a particular situation is best decided according to the ground realities, community involvement in the radio project and the resources available for the assessment. 9.4 Data analysis to assess needs. For community radio, the needs assessment data is primarily used to offer the community a platform to express the needs, offer solutions through interactions with experts, or bring together different stakeholders concerned with the specific needs for exchange of views. Every radio station, however, uses the data in more than one way and documents the data with a systematic analysis. There are several ways in which the data can be analyzed. An experienced researcher normally uses simple tools and techniques to analyze the data, but includes all data surveys, focus discussion group reports, information gained through the public policy review and the review of current status of the needs. This can be a challenging process, but worthwhile to achieve community ownership of both the problem and the solutions. For analysis, the data is usually entered into a computer or tabulated manually. In case of a questionnaire-based survey data, analysis of the responses involve recording and counting the number of people who responded and each response in cases of multiple choices for answer. This is called quantitative data. Quantitative data is normally supported by graphs, tables and charts, writing out the comments, identifying the needs, then grouping and segregating similar needs or opinion. This is called qualitative data. For qualitative data, the practice is to group the data according to issues, themes, objectives, etc. For multiple choice responses, the analysis can show percentage of each response. Through charts or colored diagrams, analyzing of focus group discussion data is similar to analysis of the comments section of the data obtained in a questionnaire survey that constitute the qualitative data. Times. The second stage of analysis involves reviewing the data entered. It is important to remain objective at this stage and reach conclusions that are supported by the data. The needs assessment report is prepared by summarizing the information and the analyst's conclusions based on the data. In a community radio, quite often the practice is to first prepare a draft report and discuss the contents with community leaders or opinion makers and assess how far the conclusions of the analysis reflect the felt needs of the community. The most critical needs of the community suited to radio program and the station's profile are identified and given to program policy team for further actions. Such needs assessment review can help any community radio station to develop a strategic plan for addressing community needs and making the station an important part of the community life. 9.5 Ethnographic action research. An innovative research approach to study the impact of information and communication technologies is ethnographic action research. Developed by UNESCO, it provides a valuable approach to understanding contexts and conditions of information and communication technology for poverty eradication. Based on experiences in 8 projects. In 5 countries, this ethnographic action research document is tailor-made for community radio projects. It combines 2 research approaches, times ethnography and times action research. Ethnography is a research approach that has traditionally been used to understand different cultures. Action research is used to bring about new activities through new understandings of situations. We use ethnography to guide the research process, and we use action research to link the research back to the project's plans and activities. Ethnographic action research is designed to provide a flexible and adaptable approach to researching and developing communication projects. The ethnographic approach will ensure that project development takes place within a broad and embedded understanding of local contexts and needs. The action research component, the cycle of plan, do, observe, and reflect, enables rich research data to be fed back into project activities on an ongoing basis. There is no right way of applying ethnographic action research, in the sense that each project and locality will present different opportunities and challenges, and resources will vary. However, it works particularly well where projects have seriously attempted to develop a research culture, to own and take part in research and to see it as an inclusive, useful, and participatory activity. Underlying the research process are four key questions that need to be addressed throughout. 1. What are we trying to do? 2. How are we trying to do it? 3. How well are we doing? 4. How can we do it differently better? 9.5.1 Assets and resource mapping. Assets or resources in the context of community radio are tangible possessions owned by the community collectively or by family holdings and even by individuals as custodian of the community that can be used to help improve quality of life. The focus here is to list the assets already present in the community and to leverage these for the betterment of the community, rather than focusing on problems and concerns. This approach is widely used in assets-based community development as it involves various stakeholders. Asset could be also in the form of human assets, institutions in the community, local business, and outside resources. Asset resource mapping forms an important part of understanding the environment in which one is working and the potential of a community to rise to a situation or address a concern. A community radio station, since by its very nature has to mediate with a lot of different groups and hence can bring together these assets for community development. 9.5.2 Secondary data. As the name indicates, secondary data means already existing data that can be accessed to gain insights into the community. Secondary data about a community is obtained without actually having any direct contact with it. A typical example would be to use a census report or a previous project report or an existing socio-economic or cultural study report to construct a social, economic, and demographic profile of the community. The main advantage with secondary data is that the data already exists and can be used as a guide or supporting document to understand the community. The disadvantage is that secondary data may be dated and may not reflect the present-day needs and perceptions. However, secondary data is always a good reference document to start understanding a community, particularly in our country where oral traditions dominate and systematic documentation of communities is very rare. 9.5.3 How to use the data for radio. Once you have the data and its analysis, it can be used in a variety of ways. For instance, the Science for Women's Health program that SEMCA is implementing for DST through the community radio stations conducted a detailed baseline study on the socio-economic and demographic profile, media habits, source of information, local problems, myths and superstitions with regards to health and nutrition issues in all the communities within the target areas of the community radio stations where the project was taken up. Some of the ways in which the survey data is being used in the programs are the broadcast timing of the Science for Women's Health has been fixed on the basis of the data showing the most convenient and acceptable time for women to listen to radio. Repeat broadcasts are scheduled for the next most convenient time. The data provides information on some of the myths and superstitions related to women's health and nutrition. The production teams in the community radio stations have adopted different ways of drawing attention to these myths and superstitions by explaining the origins of the myths while trying to provide a scientific basis for the correct ways of handling the issues. The data on women who would like to participate actively in the programs provides an opportunity for the station to mobilize and motivate the community. Women, the data provides some information on a range of local problems like poor drain, age, lack of toilets, mosquito menace, etc. These are community needs which, when highlighted through radio, can yield positive results. These are but a few examples of how survey data can be used meaningfully in making the radio more participatory and sensitive to community needs. It must be clearly understood that the various techniques of needs assessment listed above are not mutually exclusive. One cannot be substituted for the other, nor can one used in isolation to obtain an understanding of the community. As noted at the beginning of this section, there is no single all-purpose technique. All these are research methods used in social sciences and are mentioned here to give you a basic understanding of the various means of developing a sense of ownership for the community vis-a-vis the radio station. 9.6 Summary. In this unit we have focused our reading on how to assess, understand, analyze and use data on community needs. We have tried to explain the term need and differentiate between wanted need and between felt needs and latent needs in a community. Assessment of a community's need is an elaborate procedure. It is valuable a tool in program planning. It is also a way of understanding needs, opinions, issues, interests, and assets in a given community. Needs assessment is not a one-time exercise because, with time, needs can change or become more acute. Within a community there could be groups with conflicting needs, but the community radio has to balance the various needs of the community with care and understanding. Needs assessment methodology includes survey in the community, focus group interviews, community forum, interviews, consultations with key informants, experts, interviews, analysis of existing data, reports, asset mapping. Once the basic data is obtained, it has to be analyzed and interpreted for the needs to be prioritized and properly reflected in the programs. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates. And we will see you with the next chapter.